Hello, everybody. So just wanted to give a heads up that this is going to be a two-parter of an episode. We ran out of time, unfortunately. We had to go from my place to Evan's place to go do band practice, and just as we were starting to get into the good stuff, there's a lot of emotions coming out because we are talking about the state of me and Evan's relationship, seeing what's going on with this album since I just got cut out completely out of it. So there's a lot of things going on, but regardless, check out Evan's album if you haven't. And check out the podcast. Be on the lookout for the second episode when it drops. Anyway, see you later. And without further ado, here it is.
And then we'll snap it together on 3. So 1, 2, 3. Beautiful.
Wow.
You got it.
That was really good. You were close.
All right, let's do it again.
Hey, but you could you line mine up with the video where I go tap, 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 you know?
All right.
Yeah. It'll trust me. Trust the process.
All right. Art dealer.
You know what? I think we're gonna be friends.
Don't do that. All right, are we ready? Check this out. Let's do this.
Man, you've always wanted to do this.
I've been wanting to do this. Go back to podcasting for it's been a year. Do you remember last time when we podcast? That was the last time when Gilbert was here. It was the last time we did this.
Really?
Yes, it's been a year. Ryan's party, I think, or Ty's thingy. That was the last time we did Deep Talks. I miss podcasting so much.
It's wild because I remember seeing in between us hanging out years ago and then that space where we just weren't hanging out.
Yeah, there was 3 years at least.
I remember at some point going through your links and seeing you and finding the podcast.
Oh,
videos.
You found it.
But then when we met, it didn't click that you were the same person.
Yeah, I know. I do a whole thing. It's the glasses, really. It's what does it do.
It's so romantical that you're just
I do that. But we're back. It's been a fucking year. Let's introduce everyone here. Arty 5000. Who is this guy? Yeah, we'll go with this.
I'm Evan Casa. Thank you. Thank you for joining the podcast.
All right, you do one more.
One more introduction?
Yeah.
Arty 5000.
All right, cool. All right.
What's your name? We don't even know you.
I'm Moshe.
Dude.
Baron.
How did we fucking
How did we get here?
Look, I'm going to take some credit because when we hung out, when we met and we went to Smashburger.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
There was some...
You
don't remember
I've never been a Smashburger before.
Shout out Flameburger, though.
Oh, Flameburger.
Yeah.
I've been a Flameburger.
Yeah, Flameburger.
Falafel burger.
Well, we
Falafel waffles.
there was a little bit of maybe not tension.
Oh,
there were some emotions coming out
There's a lot.
regarding the friendship here between you two.
Oh yeah, because Arty just cares too much sometimes.
And
Sometimes.
When I wasn't even thinking about that you'd done a podcast before.
Yeah, man.
But I told you it really made me think of Bad Friends.
Yes.
I was like, you two have this you're letting out real emotions and you're definitely talking about. I can tell it's real, but you're
real to some people.
Yeah.
I can see the discomfort in the face. So I was I literally said, I want to hijack / help start up your podcast again.
Which would be awesome. I'm still down for that.
Be the commentator of you two,
I don't know.
Figuring out what the fuck this is.
I'm trying to find a regular to be on here. Evan has been so busy and AWOL this whole fucking month.
Sure.
It's got a lot going on. But I was looking for a potential one because Gilbert sleeps until 10 p.m. and then he wakes up at 1 in the morning. And then that's his schedule. So it's really hard to find a good window.
He's only awake for 3 hours, did you know?
Yeah. It's really hard to find this shit.
Yeah.
It's been tough.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I know. But okay.
Can't even get a hold of his booker.
Today we're going to talk about...
a manager.
To actually, yeah. All right. We have a lot
what are we going to talk about
We have
today?
a lot to unpack. First of all...
What's on the agenda?
We have the EP that's dropping out.
This is true.
It's fucking crazy.
Skeleton
7 Deadly.
Crew?
What'd you say?
Skeleton Crew's got an EP.
I do have an EP, but you have an album. Did I say EP?
Yeah.
I've been on that for so long. I'm sorry, because I have my own
EPs
thing.
are trash.
Yeah, I heard you make music.
I do. It's crazy.
Man, I heard he's got a synth player. Crazy.
So
Anyway.
the album is coming out.
All right,
We'll
thanks,
talk about
guys.
that.
We're going to continue this podcast.
The album is going to be coming out. There's a lot of new things happening this year already.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of amazing, beautiful things. From recapping from last year to this year. First, before we get into any of that, how did you two meet and how did you come into our lives? Let's go with that.
This is a full circle moment.
Go to the beginning.
Go to the
I
beginning
think
first.
the way it started us off was Everything roots back to Graham. I'll be honest. Like life begins and ends with Graham.
Like the Matrix, like Neo.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and
Don't compare him to me.
so I did taekwondo with Graham for years, but anyways, after we reconnected after a year of like not doing anything, he ended up inviting me over. He bought a bass guitar for me, and so I started my music career like 15 years
You're
before
talking
that.
about Graham.
Yeah, specifically Graham.
I taught him other stuff.
Shut the fuck up. What did you say?
That's the other thing. We'll get to that in a second.
Arty's
too.
holding the cue cards right now.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just trying to read everything at the same time. I got noise discrepancies and all this shit in my head. But anyways, we started a high school band, and about I think a year into it, our drummer had to move to a different school out of state, and so we got a new drummer, and then we ended up started searching for guitarists, and we found some really weird people.
As you do.
And then after a few like auditions, we found somebody kind of cool. Or I didn't find it. It was all Graham, but Graham found somebody cool. And then I remember coming to band practice, and this fuck shows up, and he's just like, "Hey, I'm a guy. I play."
I was like, hey, I can't play any of these songs.
Even more beginner than I was playing bass.
I don't know Green Day. I know Blue Day. It's crazy.
No, I didn't. It was interesting too because at that point,
You really didn't?
I mean, I knew of Green Day obviously,
Right,
and
yeah.
I'd heard like American Idiot
For sure.
on like Guitar Hero
Yeah,
as a kid or
the
something.
classics.
But it was a weird point because joining the band Out of Sight Out of Mind, which was like I think we all agreed was like kind of Graham's vision and project. That was the first band I joined outside of like my own vision and project. Like I had my first band I started in high school, and then coming out of that, I joined Out of Sight Out of Mind. And at that point, I was getting really into like post-hardcore and like newer pop punk stuff like Knuckle Puck, you know, and like and movements, like getting into kind of the more emo stuff.
Yeah.
So it was weird because like music-wise, the Green Day was kind of pulling me back to earlier steps of that music. I kind of skipped that like pop punk.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know, because Green Day's really like compared to some of like more hardcore shit.
Oh, they're very
now,
pop
it's
punk.
pop. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like they're like the Beatles or something.
Yeah.
So
Right on, yeah.
but musically or like playing wise, it was very different music than I'd been doing.
For
and
sure.
it was hard. Like you
Yeah,
know, that
yeah.
music is all chugging and staying totally on beat.
All that, yeah.
And yeah.
And then I think right after we did like a good hiatus, man, not hiatus isn't the right word, but a good chunk of doing band stuff together, I think you dropped out or something, and then it was like
something.
it was like 2 years or something. No, yeah, I think you did.
Yeah.
But it was like 2 years that we just like hadn't talked at all.
Damn, nothing.
And then I don't know how we reconnected over it, but you came over, we just did something and made 2 songs in
Fucking
like
crazy.
in a night. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was wild. It was interesting too because I remember for me personally that night, I remembered feeling kind of like I was vibing, but I remembered also just sort of being like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I was like intellectualizing the hangout. I was like, are Evan and I like vibing? You know, I was like, is this like a friendship? Like I just,
I know,
it, like
it's-
it didn't feel wrong, but it wasn't like quite in the groove yet.
Yeah.
I think I was at a point in my life where I was still like trying to make connections and like,
Yeah.
you know, when it didn't work out exactly how I wanted.
Well,
I
he,
would just get
to be fair, he
depressed.
does make it very difficult for you to love him as a person.
Yeah,
He's a very difficult person
There's,
to, like,
there's no
get to
punchline to
with.
this.
Yeah.
I still don't know.
No, that's what I'm telling you. I still don't know. After all these years.
Yeah, no, but definitely, without a doubt, there's a stronger connection now.
Yeah.
and I think it's because we both have grown a lot.
Right.
You know, I mean, one thing that was interesting. Can we talk about pot on the podcast?
Yeah. So the only thing we can't talk about is politics, and like maybe like I don't know, just probably politics is good. Religion is probably good.
All right.
What's your religion?
Pot.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yes, right on.
No, what was I going to say? Oh, well, one thing that was interesting is like when I joined Out of Sight Out of Mind,
Yeah.
I don't think I think Sonia, the drummer, she definitely gave off vibes like she like partied at a lot.
Hell yeah.
But like when it came to like daily and like rehearsals and stuff,
Yeah.
like y'all weren't really like users. It didn't seem like y'all weren't like drinking beer casually or smoking
Yeah.
weed. Whereas like I was like trying to get high as much as I could, you know, and like get drunk as often as I
Fuck.
could.
Okay.
And I'm not saying I like promote and think weed and alcohol is really great.
But it's a time period for where you're at,
Yeah, and I think where we were at, like, I mean, 100%, I saw Graham start smoking pot, and I saw his musicality open up, and I like saw that stuff open up. I think what's cool is since we've become friends more now, it sounds like we've had some growth and experiences that just not everyone has. Like, we've really resonated on topics of like spirituality now, and what this is all about.
Yep. All the beautiful
especially
things.
how like everything can relate to one another. How, just to briefly go over, it's like some of the spirituality, how everything is beautifully like connected. There's no separation, and like the only like pain we feel, I shouldn't say in certain instances, but a lot of it is like the illusion of separation. That's just briefly going over, but to get back on topic, yeah, pot does something to your fucking brain.
Yeah.
It might be my dad's right, but like, kill a few brain cells, get lost in it, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, I should point out though that pot does not kill brain cells. In fact, it actually puts neuroprotectants on your brain.
On the
cells.
nuggets.
Yeah.
With tinfoil.
I do have to say, like, I guess I'm
Puts
curious.
mini tinfoil hats on each.
Yeah.
From your
Each
perspective of like having, dare I say, smoked a decent amount.
Yeah. Probably more.
Yeah, I don't smoke at all.
Yeah.
But the fact that when I stopped, or several times, but after a frequent use bunch of things, there'd always be like crazy fantastical like nightmare dreams. Like everything became extremely vivid, like as if when I fell asleep I became more awake than I am in reality here.
Oh, 1,000, yeah.
Sure.
Makes sense.
So your question
is like, have you like any nightmare, or maybe not even nightmare, maybe it's just me like internalizing my problems.
Yeah.
But
no, vivid, right?
vivid dreams.
Yeah. I mean, I think
from like either a come down, or maybe not even come down, but like
no, for sure,
tea breaks.
I mean, like something I've heard people say from like a very kind of factual, technical layman perspective is that you go into a deeper sleep when you're not on cannabis.
Probably.
So you remember your dream more or something like that.
Yeah.
And I've always tossed and turned with that statement because like I think a lot of people would agree they smoke pot, they go into a deeper sleep.
When I take my gummies like for that, I definitely go into a much deeper sleep.
Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting thing. I mean, I think it really has to do with where you're at.
Yeah.
I mean, like, to point out kind of the obvious, like, it's the subconscious thing. Like, I think one thing that's really weird about pot for me, I never call it pot, by the way, but my boss called it pot today, and I can't stop.
Oh, it's so fun because it's such an old person term for it too.
Well, he was telling me the story about how he was trying to make a pot pipe.
Yeah.
He's like, I cut myself trying to make a pot pipe, and we all thought he said pot pie.
Yeah.
Like, you just take out of the plastic, man.
Yeah, but how fucking hard is that?
But you cut your hand open.
Fucking loser.
Yeah, but no, I mean, like, for me, an interesting thing is, like, cannabis can kind of relieve / give a new perspective to all the thoughts that are in my head.
Yeah.
Which kind of can bring space. But it is true that I think when you start kind of, like, enjoying the vice of smoking pot, you're enjoying that endorphin rush and having more thoughts and stuff. And I do think that if you kind of swim in those waters for a while and then stop,
right,
a lot of the stuff that is more relative, that pertains more to like trauma you're working out or things that are on your subconscious, those kind of come to the surface.
Yeah, because like using it tastefully.
I've had vivid dreams, but I don't know if I've had nightmares after smoking pot.
Gotcha.
I feel like I have nightmares whenever I just have subconscious anxiety.
Yeah.
And I think that's sort of what was my point, is like cannabis certainly, I think for most people brings those anxieties to the surface.
Right.
But I do think you can smoke, when you smoke it a lot, you can kind of learn how to use it in a different way.
For sure.
Like anything, where you even use it to suppress emotions or just like to put them in a weird shelf.
And wherever your mind's at.
Right.
Because like it's going to be a tool. Like I would say just like any other drug or like thing that you can do, it's going to be a tool. Like there's people who are just straight up couch potatoes. And then you have straight up like Olympic athletes that both take cannabis.
Yeah.
But it's how your mind utilizes it. So like you can use it as a performance enhancing drug. Or as just like a do nothing the fuck drug.
Yep.
And I think just it accelerates or enhances wherever you're at. So like if you're trying to promote this type of energy, or you have a certain vibe that you're just in or immersed in, that's all it's just gonna like keep emitting.
It is crazy how diverse it is, because you don't really hear about people like, you know, shooting up like steroids and then staring at the fridge for like 3 hours, you know. But
like I love that, like of the people I've talked to, and like I even experienced it once myself, working out specifically. Like if you're in the mindset to do it, sometimes you can just kind of forget what you're doing and you'll do more. You'll get more out of the workout because it does impede like some memory. And so that's like, especially some of it why I stopped, because I just like couldn't remember anything.
Yeah.
Like it really fucked up my memory.
Sure.
But aside from that, everything else was kind of fun.
Yeah. That's why I don't do drugs.
Yeah. It's interesting because to go back to what you said about the illusion of separateness, you know, I mean, like memories is a weird one.
Yeah.
Because,
For
because
some
to an
people,
extent, I feel
yeah.
like not being able to remember stuff presents itself as a problem if you're clinging to needing to remember those memories. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
because there's
that.
memories that you
Definitely.
casually are embodying every day, but for all you know, you're projecting and changing those memories based off shit that's happening right now in life. And,
Which could be a good or bad thing.
Yeah.
Everyone
Yeah,
has their own
it
opinions
could be a
about
good or bad thing.
But anyway, fucking great stuff.
So let's smoke some pot.
Yeah. There we go. Okay, but that's how you guys met then. That's,
All right, yeah.
Just to go off on the tangent.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
guys-
So yeah, we met at through Graham's band.
Then
I joined his hired gun.
Yeah. Then we reconnected like 2 years later.
Yeah.
We made like 2 songs in a night, and
Because we smoked a lot of pot. That was
Yeah.
kind of why I was.
Yeah.
you know, exactly.
We smoked a lot of pot.
Alliterating to that.
Yeah.
I've never, of the times I've like enjoyed bud, whenever I have smoked specifically, I've never been okay, other than one time with another friend from college, but your weed has gotten me higher than a fucking Triscuit on Mars.
Jesus.
Oh yeah.
Fuck, that's must be the good shit.
Jesus on the Triscuit for sure.
Jeez.
Like,
Woo!
brush off the fucking chips on your shoulder. Like you
Yeah.
got some shit on you. You know what I'm saying?
The good stuff.
But anyways,
Yeah, maybe.
So then I know one of the songs is on the album then.
Yeah, currently. So
Yeah.
that is cool. That's a good thing to.
Yeah, well,
Talk about.
I do have a point to this.
For
We
sure.
Alluding
keep going
every-
off tangents a little
for
bit.
sure.
But I'm
alluding
trying to reach
everything
back.
to like kind of recent events as of the culmination of my life, and as it reaches, I wouldn't say an end point, but an end of an era for me specifically,
Right,
is the 7 Deadly Sins project,
right.
which has been like at least 5 years in the making.
At least. Can we talk about the first thing you did, the EP, Warm Beginnings, right?
Yeah, and so I had other singles, like I put one out and took it down, and I've had other projects, like the original was called War of the Bugs. I don't know
Yes.
if you remember that.
I remember that, yeah.
But over the course of 5 fucking years,
Yeah,
it's changed names about like 3 or 4 times.
yeah.
And it's been through phases of having like this set of like 12 songs, or this set of 10 songs, or this set of this style.
But eventually you got the idea, after you did the EP,
After all these things,
you decided to do a 52.
so of that project, it was Warm Beginnings, and I was
Yeah.
like, okay, this is it.
Yep.
And then I went through my entire like Ableton folder, and I found like 156 projects that I liked.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, a third of this is actually usable. So here's 56 tracks. I'm going to upload it and we're going to be good.
So just from this standpoint, I was his mixing engineer when we started this. You asked me, well, I wanted to help out because my whole thing was I feel like I wanted to use the album as like a great stepping stone for me to understand how to engineer music, and especially on your scale of like being able to make a song, and all of his stuff is all different. It's all different shit.
For sure.
So I can use it in different pockets and understand different, pockets of music and really learn to cater to genres.
Yeah.
And what the song needs. So I really benefited a shit ton from it. Even though, which we'll get to later, I don't get to complete. My journey with Evan has been very shoddy throughout this entire thing. But like it's been very shoddy. But like for me, I see it more as like I'm proud that like holy fuck, it all started when I gave him fucking Ableton for free.
Yeah.
God only knows what happens there. It's fucking crazy.
Here's the rule of thumb: do not give your friends Ableton.
Yeah,
Don't.
Please don't.
don't ever do it
Just
because you'll make an album and you'll never thank your friends for it. I think that's the real thing.
that's drilling down to the brass tacks of it, being honest. But after that, like, I think after the Warm Beginnings EP came out,
Yeah,
I was like, okay, so I'm ready to like finish the other tracks, because we had really pushed for the 4 songs that are on the EP.
yep,
And they're like basically done, but I still wanted to rework the one immersive that had like the fucked up drums. Like, it was good with the program, but I wanted the live drums.
yep.
A whole sort of kerfuffle of problems.
Yeah, which we could have figured out if we worked on it just a little bit more. But time
Exactly.
is of the issue.
Time, and then also like I think as my life progressed, I didn't.
Yeah.
Did you say time is of the issue?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Well, it was. There was drum timing. Like
Yeah.
we had a project
like
that was
that.
117 like and a half BPM, and it was fucked up. Anyways,
That's
getting
fucked.
off track.
Yeah.
Like I didn't realize as a musician over the years. Like now I've officially learned having this album come out on Saturday as we were recording this.
Mhm.
I hit new eras, like especially in my early 20s. Like I'm going through different life experiences and learning different things about my life.
Yeah.
That I keep like going through just different things that I need to express and like have an outlet for, and music is my specific most extreme outlet.
Yeah.
And so I'm always writing new projects and thinking like, oh, this is like this is the most authentic version of me. But when I have the time to like meet with Arty or like go to a producer or whatever, or just do it myself, like I'll be able to do it, record it, and then I'll need to work on it more, or at least I thought I did. And so then by the time I was done with it, I'd be like in a new era being like, that's some old shit. I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
let me just work on a new project. And so that happened for the entirety of this span of 5 years.
Yeah.
All that to say, The 7 Deadly Sins was a more recent album concept that I was able to take, of the 56 songs, just a couple of them, and then write a few more with you within the last few months, as well as taking other projects that I found off my phone and just random shit that I feel like is ages old, even just from like other past relationships that I still feel a little bit of heartache from sometimes here and there. But I don't regret posting it, like, or having this the album come out with the music that is so tied to like those people or
You should
or those experiences, because it's just such a, like, as one of my good friends Lily said, it's like a little firefly jar on the wall. You can just take it down and look at it whenever you want.
Yeah.
To like get a whiff of those like memories.
Yes. And it's yours.
Yeah.
It's nobody
and I think
else's.
that's a really hard thing to learn as a musician, seeing that it's yours, and if you like it, that's the value of it. It's
That
not
really
like what
is, yeah.
anybody else thinks. It's, you have to like it enough to be like, oh, this is, I love this. This is me. If somebody criticizes it, you don't have to get offended by it.
No. I think for me, my going into the album. So when we first started this, when did we start? When did we actually start like working on songs? Like Warm Beginnings was when we started getting into the habit of it.
Warm Beginnings was like probably 2021.
Yeah.
If not 2020.
Probably
where we
around
like
there.
officially started like, hey, we're trying to have a release.
Yeah. And
whereas like it was here and there, but
Yeah.
you were always helping me work on projects like since 2018, probably more 2019.
Yeah. Mainly because I thought that like it gives me so much a creative outlet to like see someone's creativity and bounce so many different things from there. Because when I started helping you out with Warm Beginning, even the first couple songs to where I am now, dramatically fucking different. Like how much I've grown as a fucking producer, engineer.
It's insane.
Fucking crazy.
I love your growth, and also I'd just say our growth, like as audio engineers, mixers,
fucking
producers.
nuts.
It's so funny. I don't want to call them out on the podcast. However, there is somebody who you guys go to like terminal with.
Oh yeah.
That I know, like I've never personally met, but he's a cool dude. But I recently heard his music on his Instagram.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy fuck, this is the type of stuff I was making in 2017.
Yeah.
Or like 2018. I'm like,
And
dude.
the evolution that like how much we've grown.
Because like you can just hear it and recognize like, it's his song, but I
the
see
style.
a reflection of my younger self
Yep.
through that person and their music. Like I can hear the acoustic and the twanginess of him using just a straight raw quarter-inch cable into Ableton,
and
then
then
putting a three decibels of like a saturator, and then mixing in drums. Like
mixing in
whoa,
drums.
That's interesting.
That's how we benefit from this is creative projects. So my whole relationship with Evan has always been the Twin Chickens podcasting gaming thing, because that's how we can like just let loose and have fun. But there's so much of a creative aspect from that I gained, like just having fun, bouncing and making videos, like just to entertain ourselves and growing as fucking people. Like that taught me so much about being creative and shit, art and music and film, everything. So like when it came to like the music side, holy fuck, dude, we were just firing on all cylinders. Just my whole objective has always been, what can I learn from this and how can I make your song the best it could possibly be? Which changed from that to where we are now.
And I want to say, like, as much as I would have liked to be able to push some of the stuff sooner, I'm really glad we got to have it released, like, as of this year.
Yeah.
And have it done and go through the phases of the years, because in retrospect, like, we can only live in the present moment here, but now that it's like a flash that has gone by,
Oh yeah.
we've like acquired so much skill, as if it were just a video game of just like having infinite skill points to just start adding
Yeah.
to our tree.
It was fucking nuts. My biggest thing was that we could have had this album done way fucking sooner. Like, way fucking sooner. So there was a period where we started gathering the songs together, right? We started gathering, okay, how many songs do you want to do? 52? Fuck. Okay. We started, like, making a schedule and how we can realistically do this. And everything was going fine up to... this is before you decided to do 7 Deadly Sins. You did the first ghosting from me, where you just stopped talking to me, you stopped communicating with me, and then you went off and did your own thing for about, like, 3 months. And then the album idea was done. Yeah. No, I kept track of it. It was like... It just felt...
I mean, I did that for like 3 years.
Yeah.
You're out of sight or mind, basically.
Yeah. It was just like so sudden. Basically, I don't think there's anybody like me who like would be able to, that would like help you out for free. And not only that, help you out because I'm your genuine friend. And now it's just so different. You know, we'll get back to the album here in a second, but like we could have had this done way fucking long ago. And now we're here. Now we're here where the same thing has happened. Now you got the 7 Deadly Sins idea. Can you talk about, and we'll go over like what happened at the end here of this album, because I don't even know what the fuck's going on with it. This is why we're doing this podcast. I'm here to help you out, always. But can you talk about the 7 Deadly Sins? What made you choose that name? Why did you choose these songs? Can we go in order? Do you have the order?
Yeah, I can pull it.
Can you bring up your mic also as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Thank you for
you.
noticing. Yeah, no, to actually kind of go a little bit off that, I should be able to remember them in order, but I think less specifically about the album tracks, but like an overarching thing. I was actually listening to a song called "Don't Cry" and then just ended up bawling my eyes out this morning because I was thinking about the album and knowing that we'd be podcasting within the few days. Yeah, and reflecting on like what the album means to me and what the vision, what the concept of it behind it is. Yeah. And I asked myself, like, what does it feel like to be me? And I sat there and just wept for a few minutes before I wrote anything down and realized, like, damn, this is, like, just me, my perspective. I was having an interesting emotional, spiritual experience.
For sure.
I wanted to give this little monologue of kind of how it voiced in my head what this sounded like.
For sure. Hit it up.
It always felt like I was doing something wrong if I wasn't pursuing greatness. I only wanted to make my parents happy or proud, but I needed to learn how to do it my way. Being the most authentic version of yourself has become the greatest gift I can give the world. And the 7 Deadly Sins is about the awareness of actions and emotions. It's about indulgence, mistakes, and self-control. Because the way you do one thing is how you do everything. And there's an art in being, not just the hobbies like snowboarding, rock climbing, and making music. Because the way we are, and why I do music, is to decorate time. And so that was like my little monologue thing that I wrote for myself.
Fucking Gucci.
I like that. That's cool.
good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was realizing, quite literally, just as I was saying in that little speech thing, it was a lot of just the lessons I've learned over the past few years, and realizing I was always trying to wrap up or box the description of like what these songs meant to me, and that's why there was Warm Beginnings and a few other title tracks. That just like it was such a good, perfect culmination of like, oh, this is my chapter, but needing to like put a new label on it.
A new bow.
Yeah, a little new bow, but I think I had some good revelations with just as I resonated with different things I was reading and experiencing in my life, that how much fun I was having or how much self-indulgence. 7 Deadly Sins just seemed almost too perfect, and so I was able to just see a reflection of myself through like who I was becoming, who I was, and just like having the change, realizing that like this is really going to be the end of it. Like this is the end of something. For a long time, well, I'll just get a little personal here. Like it always felt like I was such a failure when I was younger. Like I could never do anything right. I was pretty suicidal when I was like really young, like maybe like 6 to 8 ish for a while. But then I think I started like coming to my own, especially like as I gained more confidence. I was able to do taekwondo and like have some bodily movement, have like trust myself and feel more in control.
Yeah,
it was pretty awesome.
Yeah,
especially like as I was learning to have new friends, because I only had one friend growing up, and then like after we stopped hanging out, then I was able to get into taekwondo.
Yeah.
Regardless, all that to say is like moving into more like trust and loving space. But I think that's like in my teen years, I dropped out a lot of creativity. It was just like do taekwondo, drop all your like just suppress all your emotions, because men aren't supposed to feel emotions. You're just supposed to like do what's right and expect to have it done. Don't get any compliments. You don't expect any love. Just do a thing and
at least that's what like it's not what's like told. It's just what is like not said.
It's what it feels like.
Yeah, exactly. All the time. 1,000%.
Yeah, and so I was struggling a lot with that. And I don't think I faced it. It was there. And so there was a lot of stress. I don't know if it was internally at home or just what I kept suppressing. And I realized the pattern of my habit was anytime people would get upset, I'd just shove it down and like swallow or whatever, so my throat would get tight, and then there'd be like gut problems or something because I would hold my chest and my breath. So my mom would always try to tell me to breathe, and that's why one of the singles I came out with, I recorded on piano a long time ago, but ended up recording about 2 years ago and released it this year, I'm happy to say, but it's called Breathe. To remember how to just fucking let go.
Yeah.
And like let that bottom portion, because I can breathe up here, but it's still, even as I'm talking, I'm getting a little emotional, so I'm talking up here. But there's a lot of like air and relaxation that happens down in your chi center.
Yeah.
I just, as you said that, I like relaxed.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, yeah. I was like, there's that meta permission to like let go while I'm kind of nervous right now.
I'm just
pushing it down.
It was such a problem because I think over time there was a lot of, I think as either as men or whatever I want to classify it as just being me, I wasn't happy with me, and so I'd suppress everything and hold my breath, yada yada. In 2020, before we got, was it before or after? I think it was about a year after we got together. I had my adrenal gland surgery, so I was like getting overly stressed out, and it's like I think over the culmination of years of just whatever I kept doing as a habit, I stressed myself out too much. And so your adrenal gland that's supposed to be like this was the size of like an orange
fucking grape.
Yeah, so it was like 500% larger than it should have been, or even more, I don't know.
Like Jesus, man.
But
it's fucking huge.
Yeah, and so every time like I would get stressed,
Mondo burger.
It would
you want that good burger.
Yeah,
good shit. Oh yeah.
It would just
going
squeeze
to the grinder.
all of it. Dude, all that adrenaline just dumped in one like pull. You'd clench my like gut, just dump out. But anyways,
you know, I think if I can
insert
step
yourself.
in,
Yeah, let me take a sip.
Yeah, hit that. Our sponsor is Gosling's Ginger Beer.
The best fucking.
It's pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty good.
Thank you. I will say, Arty, Moshe was right.
Yeah.
I did want to just take it from you, but
yeah, Arty offers us. You know, I'm like, hey, dude, the guests get drinks. He offers us ginger beer. We get a couple, and Evan leans in and goes, I don't really think I want a ginger beer. I just want to take something from him. I was like, that's gnarly.
As we do.
Yeah, as we do.
But then you were also right again that
it's really fucking good.
Halfway through this, I actually do like this and enjoy it.
It's good. Yeah, it is pretty good. I definitely didn't want one.
It's way more sugary than I expect, but you were going to insert something else, I think.
Sorry, just really needed some water.
That's hydrogen peroxide?
Oh my God.
You know, let me hit that.
How come yours does that noise? Mine doesn't do that.
There's a little bird in there.
That's what I'm thinking.
Paid $15 an hour to
chirp.
Freaking out. For no reason.
The sprinkles.
I was gonna add though. You know, I think the thing you're talking about with like you know, men are supposed to be this way. I really think that's rooted in just us being raised to think that there's any way we're supposed to feel.
Yeah.
You know, like I think it's rooted in this thing of like, you know, all good boys love their mother, right? And you ought to be a good boy, so you ought to love your mother. And so we're like constantly trying to love and trying to feel the way you're supposed to feel.
Right, yeah.
When really you feel how you feel.
Yeah.
You know, and I think the irony I've noticed is sometimes when you suppress certain feelings that you think, in my experience, like in a relationship I was in, I started noticing thoughts and feelings that I thought like were not, those aren't good feelings. Like those aren't spiritual feelings. Those are very toxic feelings.
Yeah.
But the truth is there's no such thing as toxic feelings. There's toxic actions for sure.
Yeah.
But because I started hiding those things and like and almost going, oh, I don't want to feel that. Let's shove that down. They found ways to creep up into my actions because they learned it's like a virus or something. I learned how to just, block it out of my whole consciousness, so they were able to crawl through past my consciousness into my ways that I acted and the way I was going about with it. Everybody really. So I think that kind of falls into that place. And I think with music too, you can get to a point where you're like, you're trying to make songs because you ought to make music. That's just what you're like. Oh, I'm a musician.
Or just to express yourself in some way.
Yeah, you like start trying to express yourself, and you've like gotten too stuck in the goo, the entrapment of the mind, because all that shit just comes when it comes.
Yep.
And that might loop a little back to like, the 52 length, and like keeping going because you're like you're feeling it, but then you're like, maybe I'm not really feeling it. I'm just like intellectualizing it, and you kind of keep going up and down. I mean, I remember going to hit Evan up. I was like, maybe it's time. Maybe it's time to check in, and maybe the vibes are here. And I remember him being like, hey man, I just want like a 7-hour album, like 52 tracks. And I was like, oh god, it's not time. Like, he's got some shit to figure out.
I'll talk to you later.
I was like, that's great, man. I just got a new job full time, so I can't really talk now. I know I called you. But no, I think the red flag in that wasn't like, oh, what is he doing? It was more, I was like, fuck, that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
And I think deep down I was sort of like, okay, not quite yet.
No, but that's why I think it's
there's still
perfect.
Too much shit boiling.
The universe just doing miraculous things.
It really is, yeah.
Every relationship or friendship or parents or whoever is in my life is always a reflection, for the most part, of like where I'm at mentally. Like,
yeah, that's true.
Whatever way you look at it, even if you have your eyes closed, like if you perceive it a certain way or just allow yourself to open your mind a little bit, whoever you're with or the people you're around, / whatever's like happening to you, or the patterns you're seeing, the numbers, like the things that you're getting tattooed, and like all these other spiritual things, or not even, are just a reflection of your inner world. So I wanted to say a little piece on that because it was interesting. You were like, oh shit, I see myself in what I was doing. Yeah. And you were like, oh fuck.
Well, that's how we became friends, because I saw, when we were in college together, I saw all of my shit in him. Years, like, we're very far apart in age, so I see everything that he was going through and how he was going to evolve as a person. So we instantly clicked because I just saw a lot of my shit in him. Yeah. And even now, I see all of that shit again, all the same shit. So like, it makes me like, how do I say this? It made me more aware of like where we actually are in this whole thing, and this whole album, and our friendship as well, because it's changed. In the last couple months, last month, it's just changed dramatically. Yeah. So the push to get this album out, right, has started again. Just to kind of grow chronologically again. Yeah. You started to finally get the idea for 7 Deadly Sins, and after some time, you finally said, "Hey, let's get back together. Let's actually start working on the album again," and we did. Yeah. So same thing happened where we started working on. I think we got done every single song except now we're done with the masters. So essentially, I did all the mixing and now I'm doing all the mastering. So we're in the final stage of it.
What's cool too is there's a song on the album called oh my gosh, why am I blinking? Called Midwest Emo.
Midwest Emo, yeah. And the one that's the freshest one, right? The one that's like the most recent we put out.
Yeah, it's the not in order wise, but it is the last song for the album that we created. Correct. And what's kind of wild, well, two things. One, it's just cool because I sort of mentioned how like when I was joining Out of Sight Out of Mind, I was kind of like attracted to this like kind of more evolved sound, and so it was interesting kind of like getting to learn some of these these core pieces like techniques. And now all these years have passed, and I've explored more with alternate tunings, and I've gotten a lot more into like math rock and like the Midwest emo tapping stuff. Yeah, which hence the name Midwest Emo. Yeah, or yeah. But so anyway, when I went to Evans, tell me if I'm wrong. The first time we linked up in this most recent era situation anomaly, I had shown you the FACGC tuning. So if you want to learn that song that comes out on the album at home, just know it's an FACGC.
I
Thank
didn't
you
know
very
that.
much.
I knew it was in a different tuning. I know it was that one.
Yeah, it is. And like that, I think anyone listening who's into math rock or Midwest emo would probably go, yep, that's like the math rock Midwest emo tuning. You just get a lot of these cool twinkly suspended notes and chords. Anyway, so I showed him that, and then I came back. We went to hang out a second time, and he's like, dude, I did a bunch of shit with that tuning you showed me. I kind of like left it there. I was like, hey, keep this tuning, smoke that. No more pot. Try this FAC.
I'll come back later.
And it's cool because I come back and he starts ripping stuff.
And
it was really cool because we're the same age, but I saw musically something in him that I had kind of already experienced just based on interests. I could totally see that the song was written from like not like a crazy discography of exterior influence. Like you were just feeling the tuning and kind of doing what felt right in your heart. And I could relate to that. But now that I've like gotten pretty into that genre and that sound, I was like, wow, he's really making like some like Midwest shoegazy kind of slammy.
But that's what he had. That's his talent. Is you can focus on a project and really fucking narrow down what you want to do. Totally. Every song on the album is so fucking different. That song came out of what, in 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Like we put it together in 2 weeks. I came over and helped you guys record it.
I wrote it in like a night, and then that's the wild. Like my favorite songs I've written in like less than 10 minutes.
Yeah. Well, I think what's beautiful is like for me that song, like once you wrote it, I kind of started getting this overwhelming excitement because while I knew I was kind of going to be helping out a little bit with this album, I didn't really know that, but I knew like that's what your focus was on. Then all of a sudden, because most of the music on this album is like the core of what was created was like in post-production or software. I don't know what the terminology would be, but like a lot of it is like heavily produced from the beginning, and then we kind of maybe recorded live drums after and produced it together. Whereas this song, we were like, let's fucking do it live.
Yeah, live, raw, right away.
You came over, you helped us record out of the amps and the cab to get that rocking like fresh sound.
Everything,
So I was really excited, and I was kind of nervous because I was like, fuck, like, or not nervous, but overwhelmed because I was like, man, I really want to. I just want to do this.
Yeah.
I was like in my head, I was like, I'll be honest.
How fucking cool would that be?
Fuck 52 songs. Fuck 7 Deadly Sins.
Yeah.
Let's just start a rock band. And then what was cool is it didn't exactly go down this way, but I think this is the poetic way to like explain our souls. Like we sort of unanimously said this, but I feel like our souls kind of had this like this loving deal. It wasn't a business deal, but this deal of sort of like, hey man, like. I kind of put my creativity and my energy into this for this album. And not literally this, but like then afterward, like you'll kind of put energy into what I'm interested in, You
would think so.
But it's transcended. I feel like it's kind of merging into a place where like I'm not really seeing it that way.
No, I think
it's more like this album is kind of like a part of my creative outlet now too. I'm totally
you should see it as that,
and that anything that continues to come is just us being here together. But it was really beautiful just to see how there was kind of this like agreement, if you will. Not a transaction, but like an agreement of what's going on here. So
for the future to be the future, but also I wanted to add something we touched on weeks ago. How you were there basically when I started the album
for a long time. No, I'm joking.
And you were there from the start, basically the middle and the end.
I was going to mention that. Yeah,
those 3 points of the start of my music, I'd say career, even though I've been doing piano way longer. Like my official like rock band, pop star lifestyle started in 2017 when I was like got my first truck and I was like, let's just fucking go.
To where we are now.
And then the middle section of like hitting some pretty interesting relationships, internalized drug problems, and like all this other shit. And now at the end of truly an era of like now finally letting go of my expectations for romantic relationships and just loving myself and loving myself enough to be able to share my most intimate parts of me, which is my music, to share with the world. Like just like big life events. You've only shown up for weeks, like just like a few
but
weeks.
You were in the very crucial.
Well, but what's interesting though is like, I mean, this is truly what's that word? Serendipity or maybe synergistic or something. Ironic. There's probably a lot of words I could use.
Maybe
I'm not gonna pick any of them. I can't.
Don't say the N-word.
Never. say
Isn't that what Justin Bieber says? Never say never.
Yeah.
Yeah, he says that like 36 times.
Yeah, it's not good.
I think it's a lot. It's more than anyone's ever said it,
Yeah.
quite frankly. No, what was I gonna say though? Just that. Something that kind of was impactful is when we reconnected. There was definitely a lot I could feel we were relating on and had similar growths we went through. But I was very much spotlighting like sort of the spiritual dialogue, you know,
Right.
and I think I knew you were like into Alan Watts and stuff a bit, but I feel like we started like having our own dialogues more and like really like getting more fruitful with it. But what's cool is what I wasn't expecting is like one of these times driving to the house to go probably work on the Midwest Emo or something. We're still catching up, talking about what's been going on the past few years, telling drug stories, telling whatever. What was wild is I opened up that I like just last year had a falling out with someone, you know, and that it's like super impactful right now. And I remember when I said that being like, okay, this will be one of the things that I'm kind of uniquely dealing with that maybe isn't real. And he just ping ponged it right back. Like basically kind of similar time frame even too. And so we don't talk about it too much, but it was weird because we realized in the midst of us both being kind of like, wow, like, oh man, like let's just be creative. Let's just give in this love together, which is kind of what started it. Yeah. Part of the attraction of this like rocking Midwest sound is that we both were kind of like
still heartbroken,
sad, you know. We were like, wow, we're sad as shit, you know. And it was cool because the fact of the matter is when you can just embrace that sadness, all the grimness of it leaves. It just becomes just as beautiful. Yeah. So I did not know going into this like incarnation or this revamp of a friendship that we both had like maybe been through different things in the past several years, but like just recently went through a very impactful falling out with someone that has inherently influenced some of the music we're making, you know,
which it should.
And it's weird because I don't know how much I should get into this, but like I've recently realized that I have not been super creative or feeling much motivation with my own like personal quote unquote stuff. And I've realized because to an extent, like this is going to sound really weird, but a lot of the emotions and stuff I talk about in the music I'm writing for the album that I kind of have on the back burner right now called Songs for a Stranger. It's feelings that like the music itself, I if I really play it and really do it as well as I can, I'm tapping into those emotions. Yeah. And I like don't want to feel those because they're rooted in the feelings and reflection of like falling outs with friends. And it's kind of this isolation. Sorry, I hit the mic. No, you're good. And then so I've gone through this weird thing in the past week or something where when we're at jams and we're doing shows and stuff with people, I'm like, fuck, like there's this weird thing of like kind of feeling thrown off because I'm starting to like have a friend group stay steady and that's like not what it's been. Yeah, you know, I've kind of had a lot of fallouts and I'm not friends with anyone from like high school or before really. Yeah. But then also like all these new friends are playing music and we're all like making music together and then I'm kind of going through this weird depressing thing of like, you know, I'll see like Colin, for example. I am going to name drop him. Yeah. I don't remember his last name though, so I can't name him. Is it Jetson? Johnson. Colin Johnson. Maybe the most like phenomenal guitarist I've heard or seen live ever, for our age group. Yeah. Shout out Lighter Co. I mean, he's amazing. Yeah, shout out Lighter Co. Amazing guitarist. But he's a really good example of like when I see him play, I'm like I am inspired. I want to play more. And then I have this sad moment of like, I know I can do that. It just means doing it. It just means feeling it and practicing. It just means doing it. But it hurts to go there. It hurts too much to go to some of those songs. So I've been able to find and I've been asking myself, is it a distraction or is it a true creative outlet? I've been able to put that creativity playing for other people's music, getting more into my technique and my playing. And in terms of bouncing those back, I think it's a little of both. It's a little in the same way that pot, I said, can be used to open up your mind or hide things. I think I'm really getting into my guitar and lead playing and instrumental shit and learning how to play with people. But I do think eventually my soul is like, you gotta go and sit in the dark room alone. And just that's the main thing because when you can do it from there. I don't really necessarily believe in talent. I believe that people just can do things. We are all gifted in many different ways, and I think it's very. We're all talented. Yeah, I think it's egotistical to say that because I think that like it's just hard work. Because I don't know. I've been playing guitars for like 20 years.
you know. So I know what my limits are, but like even then, like I know I can be better if I wanted to, but at the same time I don't. I want to do other things.
That's a huge question. Like, do I really want this?
Yeah, and I know where I want to be at, and I don't have to be the greatest guitar player ever. I just need to be the best musician I can be in other ways.
Or just I just need to be.
Yeah.
And let what, you know, this is like,
Let it
this
all
circles
be.
back to what I said about
Yeah.
like how you ought to feel.
Yeah.
You know, no, just let yourself
Just let it be.
feel that way. I mean, I even I've had moments where I've looked at bands that kept going after my band broke up.
Yeah.
Or musicians I played with, how they kept doing the same thing and they got better, and I thought, oh well, clearly inherently I didn't want it as much. Like,
Yeah.
you know, clearly I've chosen to give into some of the melodrama a
Yeah.
little more. This that. I don't think it's like a surface level choice thing. I think we can think we want things while
Yeah.
deep down be kind of choosing other things.
Yeah.
Um,
It's generally how it goes. But
Yeah.
I was gonna say, just to ping pong off you, yeah, all the changes that have been going on with your life, just coming back into this, I've been having the complete opposite with this whole thing. We're running out of time here, unfortunately. We got like 3 minutes left, but before it's 8:30 and we got to go do band practice. And like I said, this one we needed a lot more time with this.
yeah.
But just to wrap it up, well, this album has been a journey, and it has done a lot, and not only like bringing people together, but getting all of us to like just help you out with this album. It's been fucking nuts. And now where we're at now, we're not the same anymore. We're completely different. See?
I was seeing if Aaron's still on the phone. The call's still there, but I think he maybe hit hold too because I don't hear anything.
Yeah, I think no.
But yeah,
Anyway, sorry.
Anyway, so yeah, as I was
nothing
saying,
really stays the same. There's always
it doesn't. I just to reflect for me from this album,
Yeah.
critically.
What's been your perspective?
My perspective has been like I've been really proud of how far you've come as a musician and getting all of this shit just going. It's just been fucking astounding to see, and it's been a fucking pleasure to work up to it, up to a certain point. But because of this album, there's been so many times where I'm like, I don't think that we see eye to eye in our friendship anymore, where we just don't know where we want to be together anymore. So there's been times where like I've been like there's been many times where I'm like, I don't even know. We used to hang out all the time, and whenever we would get together to create something, that's where my juices flow. That's when I feel the most creative and the most alive, is creating things. So working on music with you has been a fucking blast, because I get to like really stretch out my juices and really challenge myself as a musician and as a producer. And lately, it's obviously none of that has happened anymore. I've seen you grow as a musician, and I respect that, but we don't have enough time to get into this, but like, I don't like who you've become as a person after this album. That's my biggest critique of you. You become much more, and I didn't know this, that like you were quitting nicotine, you know? He was getting very hostile with me, and like still, like even during the podcast, it's like, fuck you all the time. That was never been our thing. It was more, I like to be as respectful, I like to be positive as much as I can, because life is so fucking dark all the time.
Yeah.
I like to be as in peace as we fucking can.
Well, if I could add something to that quick to
Yeah.
kind of cut you off so we can wrap up or whatever, I'll say my thing is a really interesting thing I started to notice when we were hanging out, and then I saw some of the tension between you two, is I was able to look at Evan's eyes and be like, and I related to this so much. What I'm about to say is such a real thing.
Yeah.
And I'll preface it with this quick context. A possible thing to do, which we all do, and maybe this is even it, because we're all masters of deception. I've done
Very
this.
much
Is
so.
You can be fucking pissed over here with this person, these people, and then go and be with these people and be in a better mood. But still really not be fucking with anybody.
Yeah.
You know, you start seeing the world in a cynical way.
Yeah.
But what I saw in Evan's eyes, which was interesting, is I saw, and I hope this isn't too vulnerable, but I could see in your eyes that you genuinely were emotionally frustrated with Arty. I mean, I could tell that there was a whole radical of emotions, but it was real. I could tell that you were genuinely kind of annoyed with this person, and then you looked at me and there was no annoyance.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, like these guys have known each other for a bit. They've been
Yeah.
involved in each other's life. There's a lot of emotional entanglement
so
here.
much, yeah.
This isn't something, if I will, just deep rooted in like who Evan is as a person right now. Not that you maybe meant it in that way, but just that like I saw that it was an actual quality of where you two are at in your relationship.
Yeah.
And I sort of thought, well, this is cool that I'm in a similar place.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I thought Evan and I can kind of not hide together, because that's always the concern, is are we going to just sit and smoke pot together
and then
and do
conceal
whatever
everything,
to hide from all this shit.
Yeah.
But not only has it not been that, but we're sitting here podcasting with
Yeah.
you while talking about it, and then we're gonna go rehearse.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so it's just been beautiful that I feel like I've been in a lot of dysfunctional relationships and friendships. And while there's definitely like shit here,
Yeah.
it doesn't feel dysfunctional. It doesn't look dysfunctional.
Oh
to
no,
me.
because the main thing out of all of this,
I mean,
is
you,
that
my good sir.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I have, out of anything, I have genuine love for him. And I've learned throughout the years that you do not have that same love for me. And I've learned through other relationships that you have to be okay with that. That you can love someone and they don't have to love you the exact same way. And you can, we can have a different relationship, but as long as it's mutual, as long as it's healthy. And so far it has been. But just lately it's just been weird that for example, I've been telling Evan to go to Terminal Bar to start promoting the album and stuff like that. And lo and behold, I go to Terminal Bar after 3 months of not going. He happens to be there, not only by himself, but with Echo, you, and Aaron.
Mm-hmm.
And I happen to be there too. And I'm like, well, this is a fucking coincidence. I would have loved to have known.
Sure.
So the exclusivity of no longer feeling as a friend and just feeling like of this where you were at. The letting go of friendships and letting go of what once was, of what this is now. Because out of everything, out of this whole thing, I've always just wanted to help. I've always just wanted to be your friend. And I knew that if we didn't have this, if we didn't have music, we wouldn't be anything. If we didn't have podcasting, if we didn't have Twin Chickens, we wouldn't see each other anymore. And I was right.
That's interesting. That's interesting because, I mean, I know we can't go too long, but I was just talking about with our buddy Aaron.
Yeah.
Who I think is still on the phone.
Yeah. Fuck that guy.
Oh, no, we found him. We were having a really interesting conversation because I was talking about how let me just think how to say this real quick, just because I don't want to say literally the thing. I'm gonna change the story a little, but basically let's say you're like a courier and you bring meals to people. I don't know. I'm stretching the thing. I think you all can interpret what I'm actually talking about. But let's say you have a job where you go and visit people and you bring them stuff.
Yeah.
And we basically just talked about this notion of saying oh, I have friends. It's just I really only see them when I come to do business, when I come to bring them their thing. But then we'll sit and sesh and talk a bit, right? And we were just talking about how there can be the perspective of oh, you only hang out with them when you got to do this and that. Yeah. But we talked about there actually can be a very beautiful symbiotic thing of I don't know if I'm using that word correctly. I'm just gonna say it anyway. And just everyone pretend it's spot on. There's this symbiotic way of looking at it is. I do this thing and whenever it's beautiful that whenever I bring this thing, that's when we do get to talk. That's when we do catch up. That's when we do hang out.
Yeah.
Or just having that one person at the grocery store that's the checkout clerk or whoever it is. It's that can be almost a more meaningful deep relationship than some of the other friendships I've had over
Okay, well, that maybe gets into something that we should pick up with next time, which is the idea that, and I've talked about this. There's a video on my Instagram, which I think is linked here.
Yes, we'll have it linked. Yeah.
There's a video on. Well, actually, it's not that Instagram. I have a few Instagrams, but I have a video somewhere in my social media. I'll put it on YouTube where I'm just telling a quick story, and I mention how when I'm biking, I cycle a lot. I cycle all year round. And there's times where I'll have a quick chat with someone or even not even talk to someone, but we'll just ride next to each other and kind of break the wind with each other, which is where you ride right in front of them. And then And I've talked about sometimes I have and I mean this, a deeper, more meaningful and beautiful connection with that, with those quick people interactions where it's gone than with people I quote unquote know, friends and family, because of the fact, which it sounds a little bit, there's some of this, when you have those more quote-unquote closer, meaningful relationships, there's so much room to build resentment.
Oh, yeah.
And usually the resentment, unfortunately, in my experience, gets built because I haven't evolved to communicate some of these feelings and these things, So you go a long time without saying it, and then you kind of just start thinking, well, they should already know that I'm expecting this amount of energy in return. Then you start telling yourself people should just already... You think people owe you something. But you think people owe you something, and then you realize the whole thing in the first place you mentioned was love is just wanting to help, just wanting to give. So, I think part of the communication, if you want to have friends you consistently work with and hang out with in different settings, is you have to kind of have dialogues around those goofy things like we're doing right now, breaking the fourth wall.
As much as we should really like keep podcasting for another 2 hours,
we gotta go.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Madeline's gonna be at your place in probably like 15 minutes.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say. I think Darnell's gonna be at my place in 10, so we should bounce.
So just to wrap up the album.
All right, everyone, eat your mics.
Yeah. Thank you guys for coming out. We have so much more to talk about and build up on this because there's a lot going on.
I was so nervous.
No, you're good, Mike. There's so many this whole thing has been shit from the top. The normal way we do this is fucked. We're doing this off of our phones. It's been fucked from the start, but for right now, it's been good. Sign off. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
I'm glad you came along, partner.